Hello students. So we were studying chapter 4, that is what books and burials tell us. So let's finish this chapter in this video by studying the topics left. So finding out about social differences. So you can see I have marked Brahmagiri here. So this is Brahmagiri. You can see in the southern portion of the India. And here special burials or you say special skeleton was found. So let you know what was buried with the skeletons. So some of the objects were found in the grave, then in another. Like one skeleton was buried with 33 gold beads, 2 stone beads, 4 copper bangles, and 1 conch shell. So these are the ornaments, or you say these are the objects which are found with the skeleton in the Brahmagiri. And some other skeletons have pots also, which was buried with the body. And these finds also tell us that there was the status difference between the people who were buried in those burials, like some were rich and some were poor, and some were chiefs, like some other people follow the chief. So there was the status difference also while burying the person. Or next is, were some burial spots meant for certain families? Like there were some burials who were meant for, like, for a particular family, that only one family will bury their dead body in that kind of burial. So sometimes megaliths contain more than one skeleton. Like megaliths, I have shown in you in the previous video how megaliths, or you say with the help of megaliths, how the burials are arranged in a big circular form. So and this indicates that people belonging to the same family have buried their body in the same place, but not at the same time. They have buried that, like whenever the people died, they buried that people in the same place where the another people of that family has already buried. So these megaliths were arranged, and some stones, or you say circular shaped stones or boulders, were placed in the surface for as a signpost to find the burial site, so that people could return to that same place for the another time also. So there were a kind of burials which were meant for a certain families. Next is a special burial at Inamgaon. So first I'll show you Inamgaon. You can see I have marked it with a red arrow. This is Inamgaon. In the middle of the map, you can see Inamgaon. So this is a place where the special burial, or you say a special kind of burial, was arranged. So it is a site on the river Ghod, and the river Ghod is the tributary of the river Bhima. So Ghod was a river, and the tributary, it is a tributary of river Bhima. So this type, or you say the Inamgaon, was occupied between the time period of 3600 years ago and 2700 years ago. Like in between these two time periods, this place was occupied and people used to live here. And the adults were buried here. Like they have a position which they have to buried, like they are buried in the ground and they are laid straight, and their head should be towards the north. Like they used to believe that the dead people's head who is buried, their head should be in the north. And sometimes burials were within the houses also, like they have built the burials in the houses, and the people are buried inside their houses. And one man was buried with a large clay in a large four-legged clay jar in the courtyard of a five-roomed house. Like there was a very big clay jar, like मिट्टी के jar होते थे पहले बहुत बड़े बड़े, and उसमें एक man को buried मिला था, मतलब उसके हमें skeleton मिले थे, and he was buried in that jar with the cross-legged position. And This jar, or you say the house in which that man is buried, it was a five-room house, and it was the largest house of that site in Inamgao, and it was in the center of the settlement. So the body's position was in cross-legged shaped. So you can imagine, like you can suppose like that body, if it is placed in a cross-leg position, so maybe that body was of a king or was of a leader who has buried in that way. So we can imagine various things from the skeletons we have found. So next is occupations at Inamgaon. So archaeologists have found various seeds of wheat, barley, rice, pulses, millets, peas, sesame. Like these all seeds were found in the Inamgaon when the archaeologists have searched that place. And bones of various animals were found. Like there are large number of animals whose bones were found in the Inamgaon. Like you can see here in the slide, I have named all the animals which is being described in the book. So cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, hare, sambar, spotted deer, blackbuck, antelope, hare, and mongoose, besides birds, crocodile, turtle, crab, and fish. So these are all the animals and birds, or you say reptiles, whose bones were found in the Inamgaon. And some fruits were also found, so we can imagine, or you say there were the evidence of fruits like bear, amla, jamun, dates, and variety of berries which were found there. So we can knew that people used to grow rice or used to agriculture there, and there were lots of bones found. So we can imagine that people have eaten these animals, or they ate these animals, or they have also found, or they have collected several fruits like bear, amla, jamun, dates, and berries. Two more things I have to tell you about this chapter. So first was how people used to identify the skeleton. So sometimes some skeleton was found with the jewelry, so people can assume that this skeleton would be of a woman. But in the previous year, men also wore all ornaments. So the better way of figuring out the gender or the sex of a person of or a skeleton, so it would to look at the bone structure of the skeleton. So the hip or the pelvic area of the woman is generally larger than of the man, because it enable the woman to bear child. So these distinction, or you can say we can use this distinction to find out whether the skeleton is of men or women. And about 2000 years ago, there was a famous physician named Charaka, and he has written a book, that is Charaka Samhita, in which he has recognized, or he has stated, that the human body has 360 bones. So this is much larger than the number that we know today, that we have 206 bones. But Charaka has figured these bones by counting the teeth, joints, and cartilages also. Like in the modern time which we study today, we only count the bones, that is 206 bones in a human body. But the Charaka, he has also counted teeth, joints, and cartilage with the bones. And the next thing I want to tell you about is China. So the first evidence of writing was found in China around 3500 years ago. And these writings were done on the animal bones, and the kings of China had used these bones for predicting their future. So you have to remember that around 3500 years ago, the first evidence of writing was found in China. So that's all for this chapter. I'll see you in the next chapter. Thank you.